Well, I'm now joined by Ian McGarrigle, who is the chairman of the World Retail Congress. Ian, thanks very much indeed for joining us.
Not all good.
Ian, you spend a lot of your time talking to the global CEOs of some of the world's largest retailers. What's the buzz?
Well, it's really interesting just thinking about Amazon and their view of Amazon. I mean, I think in many ways they feel quite conflicted about it, because this, of course, is the big elephant in the room that for quite a few years now has been taking over key sectors, famously the book sector, music, and now the fashion sector. So this has been the competitor to watch for quite some time now. And obviously with this new news, they're now turning their attention to food. And so many of them sort of question, is Amazon a retailer? They sort of question the fact that they seem to be able to play by different rules of the game to how retailers have to operate, where they're operating bricks and mortar, and they've got a hugely different cost base. So it feels like it's a very uneven sort of competitive landscape. But on the other hand, they've grown to recognise that this is a player that they can't live without either. I mean, the development of Amazon in the marketplace has allowed many retailers of all sizes, particularly sort of medium-sized retailers and brands, to literally travel around the world and open up new markets. So I guess it is that classic frenemy sort of view of Amazon. And I think personally, in listening to retailers, yeah, of course they're a retailer, and it's many more things too. They kind of reflect the way that the retail industry is changing. They've been a driver of that change, but I think they are increasingly, and obviously with this new move, they are very much in the market to be perceived as a retailer. And for me, I think the ultimate representation of that is at the World Retail Congress this year. We, as you know, will run the World Retail Awards, and a panel of the most senior retailers voted for Amazon to become the retailer of the year. I mean, it feels on one hand a bit like chickens voting for the fox, but on the other hand, just hearing those conversations, it was obviously fear, but in a sense real admiration for the way that Amazon is changing the game and the way that it operates as business.
In a positive way. I mean, interesting those discussions about should they be awarded it, shouldn't they?
Yeah.
Admiration in a positive way, or in begrudgingly
so.
sort of.
No, I wouldn't say begrudging, really. I think there was a sense of irony that here we are awarding this to Amazon for all the reasons I've sort of mentioned. But I think there really is admiration, and the way they look at the and certainly in the last 12 months, not including this deal. I mean, the way that they've launched Amazon Go and Alexa and all of these new technology developments, it is really something they look at with admiration, how they're able to do that and put innovation at the heart of their business.
Now, you were probably editor of Retail Week, one of the world's leading retail newspapers, when Amazon first appeared on the scene. Did you ever imagine then that it would be the mammoth that it is?
No, I think I would be lying to say that you
would have bought all the shares,
imagine it,
yes.
Because for those early years it was all about reshaping and changing books and, say, their music, and you kind of thought that was them, in a sense, ring fencing the sectors that they were really, really interested in, and famously their losses were racking up every single year. So it just seemed like this is a crazy model, even though they were increasing revenues and changing the way that sectors were modelled. So whether Jeff Bezos had that secret sort of grand vision in the bottom drawer all those years ago, I guess only he can answer that. But it just seems that it's moved in sort of quite key stages over those years, not that many years in kind of the history of retail, I guess, and it's sort of stepped up as technology has sort of revolutionised what's been going on in the consumer economy right around the world.
Now, at this year's World Retail Congress, we had presentations from JD.com, and we also had presentations from Jack Ma's business Alibaba. When you listened to those presentations, the numbers were staggering, and you suddenly really got to appreciate that in the largest e-commerce market in the world, Amazon was but a bit player. So what do you think, I suppose, the global challenges are for Amazon versus the big Chinese players, and what do you think the big Chinese players' sort of view of becoming big international players are going to be in a few years' time as these sort of acquisition battles start to rage?
It's a really good question, because obviously all our focus in this discussion today is around the Amazon Whole Foods deal, and what will that do to this crucial market of the grocery sector, the biggest sort of retail sector. So, and that's absolutely right, but we shouldn't ignore, as you quite rightly say, the size of Alibaba, which is by turnover is already bigger than Amazon, and JD.com, you know, as a pure online retailer, they like to say they're bigger than Alibaba.
Yeah.
So it's really fascinating to look at that, and they've got huge opportunities in China alone. So I think probably that's why their influence and people aren't looking at the possible effect of those two businesses alone quite yet. Although I think they should be. I mean, today, as we're filming this, Alibaba spent $1 billion increasing its stake in Lazada, and that's hugely important. So I think, and it's also moving into sort of different sectors of entertainment. It's also buying retailers in China, so physical stores. So it's as a matching sort of blow for blow sort of.
Yes. And of course, JD.com has their share, or Walmart has their shareholding in JD.com.
That's right, and it runs its joint venture together in China and Asia. So that's clearly something to watch, and I think it shows where the kind of the moves will really be made in the coming years. Now,
if you want a quiet life, don't become a retailer, that's for sure, especially at the moment. Is it a good time to be in retailing, or a really scary time to be in retailing?
I don't think retailers ever take it as an easy life. I think in all the years, as you alluded to, going back to when I was involved with Retail Week, things change, but what doesn't change is the dynamism of the industry, and it doesn't seem that long ago that the conversation here would be about Walmart. Actually, Walmart was the one, it still is the biggest retailer in the world. It was the retailer that, as it was moving into new markets and continues to sort of grow and respond to Amazon, that was the big competitor, and things will change. And I think retail is a scary place. I think we've never quite seen the market as it is now. I mean, the transformation is enormous. No one quite knows. I'm sure even Jeff Bezos couldn't sort of paint you a picture of what that sort of end point will be, because it will be continuing evolution or revolution to get there.
And finally, do you think that Amazon buying Whole Foods, becoming a big physical real estate player, is very much a wake-up call to the retail industry?
Yes, it is. I mean, you could dismiss it. Of course, it's a big price tag, $13.7 billion, but it's 460 shops, only 9 in the UK. If you want to look at it that way, it seems like a small entity in online grocery sales in the US are, I think, less than 5%. So if you want to look at it that way, you'd say this is just a small earthquake, no one yet injured. But actually, it is much more than that. It's as we've seen with Amazon over recent years, this is putting down a massive marker to say we want to learn and understand the grocery sector, because that quite clearly is their ambition, to understand it, bring all their fantastic knowledge and expertise and the technology, the innovation, the logistics, to rethink the way that the food sector operates.
Can traditional bricks and mortar retailers survive?
On their own, as bricks and mortar only, I think it's very, very difficult. The caveat to that would be Aldi and Lidl, of course, which have a unique model, and I think we should also mention them, because in the US, where this is happening, the news about Lidl arriving in the US is also important.
Absolutely.
But I think it's about all the channels. I think, in truth, for most retailers today, you can't just survive with purely bricks and mortar alone.
Ian McGarrigle, Chairman of the World Retail Congress, thanks very much indeed for joining us.
Pleasure.